guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ken, and today we're here to review the new horror film in theaters now, Immaculate.
Yeah.
We just went and saw this last night in the theaters,
Yeah.
and we're here to talk about it. But before we get into it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about movies and TV, and we do entertainment live streams every Monday night. So if you like that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button, and also
like the video.
Like she said, and then leave us a comment down below if you saw this movie. It is only in theaters right now, and it did just come out. So we'll try to remain mostly spoiler-free with our review today. But Immaculate. I'm going to go to you first. Your thoughts.
Well, I was just going to say, are we going to tell the backstory about this movie?
We could. Look, I was always interested in seeing this movie. Now, when I first saw it and I saw, Sydney Sweeney front and center, and now we got the first Omen getting ready to come out, I was like, is this just another generic possession, supernatural horror movie? But after that, I saw Neon. At the bottom, and Neon does some interesting stuff. They're an independent studio, kind of like A24. So I was interested as soon as I saw that Neon was involved. But yes, the director of this movie, Michael Mohan, apparently watches my channel, specifically the Blu-ray audits that we used to do. So
that have since been retired. But
I thought that was pretty cool that he watches my channel and also watches Michelle. So I wanted to go out to the theaters to support his movie so we could talk about it. So
I mean, honestly, I feel like that's the only reason that I wanted to go see this.
It definitely pushed the motivation because we could have waited until it came out on home video.
But this isn't usually a movie that I would want to go to the theater for, really. But we'll just get into our thoughts now. I mean, overall, I thought that this was a really good movie. I felt like it was definitely better than a lot of other similar types of movies like this. And so, I was pleasantly surprised.
It's not I feel like a lot of people will look at this movie and they'll look at the lead actress, Sydney Sweeney in particular, because she hasn't had the best streak recently, track record with Madam Web and Anyone But You, which is kind of like a generic romantic comedy.
Right.
And they'll think that this is just another kind of like generic horror film, kind of like the Conjureverse movies. Yeah. And this is not that type of a movie. This is a very art house style horror film. Yeah. Much in the same vein as a Hereditary or The Witch or something like that. It's a very slow burn. Very slow burn. But I will say it's a slow burn, but it also, I feel like there's a good amount of stuff that happens throughout to keep it fresh.
Yeah, let's also mention that this movie is a crisp hour and 30 minutes.
It is. It's actually 89 minutes.
And so I think that's awesome. I love it. I think that we need to see more movies like that. Which, usually I feel like for horror movies, I feel like that kind of run length is pretty typical.
It is.
I could be wrong, but, nowadays.
But I feel like even recently, since the Conjuring movies got popular, I feel like all those are 2 hours. And or over 2 hours. Yeah,
so definitely love that this one was on the normal runtime. And I know that the director also mentioned that he wanted it to be that way, right?
Yeah, he did.
So very cool, like that. I mean, talking about Sydney Sweeney, overall, I really enjoy her. I can get the... I don't know if you want to say hate or whatever about some of the stuff that she's been in, but she's also been in some really good stuff too. And so I feel like I first saw her in Euphoria, probably.
Yeah, I think that was her first big, kind of like her big break. But she's very good on that show. Yeah,
she's very good. The character that she's playing might not be the most likable, but she portrays her very well. And then we also saw her in a movie on HBO.
Yeah, that HBO Max original was called Reality, I think, which was based on a true story. That she was very good in that also.
Yeah, she was very front and center in that. It was very dependent on her, acting abilities in that. And so she did, really well with that. And so I feel like in this movie, she was great.
Yeah. And apparently, a little bit of backstory, but she has been involved in wanting to get this movie made for 10 years. And she's also a producer on it. So this is something that she kind of cultivated and brought to fruition herself.
Well, also, they have worked together before.
Yeah, she was in a movie called, it was an Amazon
Yeah,
original
which
called
we
The
saw.
Voyeurs,
Yeah.
and was also directed by Michael Mohan as well.
Yep.
And we did watch that back in the day. I thought that that was, from what I remember, a pretty solid, almost like throwback to like 90s erotic thrillers, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
Or 80s as well, like Body Double, and definitely took inspiration from Rear Window, so it had that Hitchcock element too.
yeah, I mean, I feel like this Immaculate is definitely a step up from that. This one, like you mentioned, is a more, what did you say, art style
This
house?
is more, I would say, art house horror film. This one, if you want to say that his last movie, Voyeurs, took inspiration from Rear Window, this one definitely takes inspiration from movies like Rosemary's Baby, with the whole like idea of immaculate conception being the
Right.
forefront of the movie.
Yeah, so, definitely don't want to spoil anything because I feel like that,
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
didn't
it's
know.
important to not know.
Yeah, I didn't know like the main plot point going into this movie, so I don't want to get into that with the review.
Right.
But basically, Sydney Sweeney plays a nun, and she goes to some like nun convents.
In
Is
Italy.
it convents or convents? I think it's convents.
Yeah, not sure, but
In Italy to stay there with a bunch of nuns, and then things get a little shaky. I'll
right,
just say
yeah.
that.
Definitely, I feel like this movie had a good opening scene to kind of set it up.
Yep.
To kind of show what we're going to be working with, where she's going, and so
Yeah, I mean, it is a slow burn, but it also, there are big moments throughout, set piece moments throughout to keep you engaged in what's going on. I never
Yeah.
felt bored, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, same. I felt like the story was good. I felt like it, kept things moving, even though it was, I guess, like you mentioned, a slow burn. But I do feel like it kept things going, and interesting. And so, I feel like by the time that we got to the third act,
Yeah.
it went. I feel like it went pretty full force and
It goes
delivered
for
for
sure.
sure. When we got to the final scene, it was definitely a little, I don't know, it was pretty like intense to watch.
Yeah.
For me, it was
Lots of
just
screaming.
lots of screaming, just very intense, very anxiety inducing for myself. But still a very strong ending, I feel like.
It is a strong ending. It definitely makes a stamp or puts a stamp on the movie and everything that came before it. But I can
Yeah.
see the ending being divisive or people being like, that's it. But I like movies like that where it's kind of left a little bit more ambiguous as to like what happens after.
Right. Yeah. I at first I was kind of like, man, but then I don't know. I feel like I can appreciate it, and so I do like the way that they ended it. I feel like it was a good way to end that this type of movie. And I want to just quickly go into kind of the look of this movie, the feel of this movie. We've already talked about how it is a step above, like your typical generic horror movie.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie looked really good. It definitely did have the vibes like The Witch or something
Yeah.
like that. One scene that comes to my mind that just sticks out is a scene where she is running through a field.
Yeah.
And they're just playing this like choir, like religious music, and she's running through the field, and it was just very like, it was, even though it was I guess kind of disturbing scene, it was also like very beautiful, and it was just like very artsy and
Yeah, and I like
looked
how it was
good.
done. They did it a couple times in the movie where like something happens, but they don't show you what happens. They just kind of show you what happens after. It's kind of a quick cut, and I feel like it's a way to save time, honestly, which is why this movie was like 89 minutes. I feel like any other movie would have showed you like the details of what happens.
Right, no like filler, just
But no, it's just her in the car. I don't want to say too much more. And then all of a sudden she's running, and
Right.
you can fill in the blanks. So I like how he did that. So it's a very well directed, well edited movie that moves at a very good pace.
yeah, for sure.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like this one a lot. I can't think of too many negatives. There is a plot point once we like figure out exactly what happened that I feel like is too far-fetched for the type of movie that this is and what they set up. I don't want to say I had a problem with it, but I was like, oh, really? That's what this is? So that would be my only like kind of negative, but it's something that could go away upon like repeat viewings. But
Yeah, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, that didn't really bother me. I feel like it's kind of
we talked about it a little bit, so
a little bit
that
of
is what I'm talking about.
a little bit of a different approach. I don't know.
It was different.
I kind of thought it was cool.
I'll give it that. I mean, for all the you can say that this is definitely inspired by films like Rosemary's Baby, and there's definitely a lot of other inspirations here as well. But this movie does feel very original in its approach to the subject matter. So I do appreciate that for sure.
And also, I'll just quickly mention that this movie does have quite a few jump scares. I feel like this had a lot of jump scares.
There are. I'm not going to say that's a negative, but there's a couple jump scares that happen that I feel like are straight out of the like Conjuring the Nun playbook. And they're few and far between, but there are a couple in there that do feel a little cheap, I would say.
Gotcha. Yeah, there, I definitely jumped several times.
Yeah.
It doesn't help when you're in a big theater pretty much alone. I think there was like one other couple in there with us, so but yeah, I mean, overall, I do feel like this is a movie that I could rewatch, which kind of says a lot for me because I've mentioned this several times. I'm not really much on rewatching movies a lot, but I could see like myself watching this one again. And so, yeah.
And I will reiterate, this is a horror fan's horror movie. Like it's not just the slow, like creepy burn where not much happens. Like the movie goes for it, and it's gory, and there's a lot of blood, and there's a lot of scary moments. So this is a very good horror movie that I think a lot of people should check out for sure.
For sure. You ready to rate it?
Yeah, I'll start and give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Thought it was very solid.
Yeah, it's always tough for me to rate it. I think I'm going to agree with you. I think I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Overall, it was a good movie. It was fun.
Yep, I definitely enjoyed it. But that is our review of Immaculate. Let us know your thoughts on the movie if you saw it or if you're going to see it in that comment section below. Also, subscribe, like the video, and follow us on our social media accounts down below. We're on Instagram, so definitely give us a follow over there, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.